Great Nigerians and wonderful viewers, you're welcome to your favorite program, Nigeria Today. And in Nigeria Today, you're also watching it from your darling station, The Living Television. And in today's point, we have Abia State government has admitted that Peter Obi's factor was a huge consideration to consider in 2023 general election. The presidential candidate of African Alliance, Omoyele Sowore, has accused Lai Mohammed for insulting and abusing Peter Obi. Nigeria's presidential-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu of APC has barred his aides from using unapproved mobile phones. Nigerian Communication Commission, NCC, has issued a statement in response to the allegation of cell phone tracking and leakage. Away from that, we have everything we need in Nigeria, says Otom Samuel of Benue State. And finally, Kenneth Okonkwo of Labour Party replies, Kayam. These and many more will be coming your way in today's program. Just keep watching Living TV. Today, I have your analyst, a man you'd always love to listen to, and that is in the person of Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi is a historian, a political affairs analyst, and public affairs analyst. Nnamdi, you're welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's such a privilege. Good afternoon to our viewers.
All right, today we are starting with Abia State. The Abia State Governor, Victor Igbazo, PhD, has admitted that Peter Obi factor was a huge consideration. Some politicians rode on to win during the 2023 general elections. He said there can only be one Peter Obi, and after winning elections, that the people will start seeing each politician for who they are, who he or she is. And looking at this, we know too well that Peter Obi's wave was a very wonderful influence in the just concluded election. Right, both in the presidential election, National Assembly, governorship, and also the state houses of assembly.
Yes.
And then, what is your reaction to this governor's statement?
I think that statement is, to me, is laudable. And I think it's a statement that should be sent to every nook and cranny, in fact, to the camp of the Labour Party itself, as a political party. People do not know before now the ideological base or standpoint of the Labour Party itself. Like I've said always, Labour Party has a socialist ideology, a pro-working class ideology. You understand? To better the livelihood or the working conditions of the working man. But Peter Obi brought something new to the discourse, issue-based. Issues of not bribing or taking bribe or giving, you understand, to vote or inducing voters, and then staying on issue. So for that reason, what he was able to bring, you understand, to the table made him sellable. And he was able to stay on issue. But as for those who were elected based on the obedient wave itself, you may see that some of them, if he has not taken, may not share in the same ideological stance as Peter Obi. You understand? And so what the governor said is not to be wished away. But it should also be a reminder to the Labour Party to begin about how to propagate these values of Obi, how to make these values, these goals, these ideals, these idiosyncrasies part of its political, fundamental ideological base, so that those who are coming to seek for political offices on the platform of the Labour Party understand that there exists such values, that there exists such goals, that there exists such objectives within the party. So what the governors actually said was right, if you ask me. And then again, I think we've had movements before now. You see that even in the 1940s, 50s, when we had the Zikist movement, Awoism, you see that majority of the people within the rank themselves did not even align with the values of and the ethos of Azikiwe or even Awolowo. So it shouldn't just be about personality focused team now. It should be, I think, adopted by the party to be part of their ideological stance going forward.
Yeah, talking about political parties in Nigeria, the Labour Party stands aloof of its own because of their ideology.
Yes.
Now, most of the people who were able to get these Labour Party tickets are people that have been in various parties, especially in Abia State here, who have tried ABGA, tried APC, tried PDP, and eventually, maybe because of ticket, ran into this place.
Yeah.
Now, how are they going to suit with this ideology of Labour Party?
And that is where the challenge itself begins. You understand? I said the Labour Party needs to recalibrate. It needs to rework. It needs to retool its ideological framework to emphasize these lofty ideals. If not, it will be having problem. Now you see, when we make analysis, there is what we call in international relations. There is what we call systemic analysis. When we talk about international organizations, international system, United Nations, and then there is also what we call state analysis. When we talk about countries, and then there's what we call individual analysis. That is the major thing here now. On individual level, some of these persons may have ideological stance that is even different. It's at variance with what Obi is trying to propagate. So it is left for Labour Party now to begin about the process of what? Initiating, you understand? Inaugurating these things Obi had actually talked about as part of its ideological stance, to the extent that those things themselves do not vary with the working man ideology class. But then I want to say this, you see, majority of those who are even coming to the Labour Party are coming from industries. Some of them are business owners, captains of industry, business moguls, and what have you. Not quite all of them came from the rank of the working class. You understand? If it were to be where ideology follows, we'll be seeing teachers, we'll be seeing class teachers, and that was why I was very happy when the class teacher in Abuja won election into the Federal House of Reps, and I was very happy. So it should be about teachers, it should be about the workers, it should be about the retired citizens, you understand, coming together to propagate and promote the working man ideology. But for now, it's such an irony that even politics in Nigeria is not played based on ideology, and that is one thing Labour Party and the other new emergent parties like we have now, the NNPP and the even Shogore, should make sure that they remain ideologically firm.
All right, the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AC Omoyele Sowore, has accused Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information, of harassing and fighting Peter Obi of Labour Party because he's a wimp with zero ability to fight a revolutionary struggle. He said this is why reacting to Lai Mohammed's claim of Obi committing treason, and I'm sure you are aware of this. When Lai Mohammed, the Minister for Information, went to, I think that is US.
Yes, US. Yes, Washington, precisely.
Washington, yes. And then he said Obi is inciting the people, and what he's doing is committing treason. In as much as Obi also, refuted that immediately.
Yes.
But this is coming from another person altogether.
Yeah.
He said Lai Mohammed is because he does not understand what revolutionary struggle is all about. And that is why he's sounding the way he is.
Yes,
doing.
I think we have to be careful the way we insert words, the way we deploy words into the Nigerian political lexicon for purposes of reference and then precedence. In 1962, when Chief Obafemi Awolowo was facing trial, he made that emphasis. The Western region was more of that period brought under emergency rule without recourse to the Constitution. It lasted until about 40 to 50 years in 2012 or 2013 when Goodluck Jonathan became president and was able to declare emergency in 6 states. Remember that time when Borno and the rest of them, Yobe states and the rest of them, were brought under emergency rule. Nobody had known and nobody had remembered that emergency was not a prerogative of the president alone, but had to pass through a vote of the National Assembly. But due to that precedence, now why am I saying? I'm saying this because political witch hunting or political perception or views should stay on issues. And if you ask me, I say, where was Lai Mohammed? He was in Washington. To which group was he talking? He was addressing international media. They have, in fact, Washington Post, which was present there, wrote an article saying that Tinubu's election was flawed. Other international media, because if you have read them, some of them even came up with issues as serious as the alleged drug involvement. So the international media is awash with a lot of things, ugly stories about the election and the outcome and its outcome. You understand? What Lai Mohammed went to do with taxpayers' money was just image laundering. And I have said it before. I don't have much respect for the man who should be old enough to be my father or the father of many Nigerians. The way he had handled that delicate office. What is treason? What is more treasonous in the statement to be, or that he has made when compared to the one people like Bayo or Nanoga, FFK, and the rest of them, even Keyamo, the ones they have made. You understand? So when we want to talk, we have to be objective and situate these things within the parameters of reality. He just went there to launder the image of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has been having the legitimacy problem following the election. And I have to say this, you see, it is only in this country, I have seen this, it's only in this country that government, in order to tag or maybe deity a particular movement with a brush, either prescribes it or begin to name it whatever it likes. But the obedient movement, I have said, is not about political parties. It transcends political parties. It's about people believing in the person, ideology, and the political principles of Peter Obi, and wanting to install him as the president. The talk of ING, interim national government, does not arise anywhere in our constitution. Yeah. The people who are talking about this should be ashamed of themselves. Do they mean to tell us that Buhari will now hand over power to unelected body, when Buhari swore by our constitution and the Holy Quran to protect and maintain the integrity of the Nigerian state? So unless they are talking about insurrection within some segment of the military or so, I am not an intelligence person, I may not know, but what I'm saying is that we have to be careful so that we don't overheat the polity. The people, if you look at this, all these things are happening since the Obi case came to public domain. Since Obi filed the case and now try to rope in or try to bring in the issue of drug involvement or illicit drug trafficking and other cases that may have to do with Tinubu. That was the moment the APC camp became agitated, so much worried that we started hearing about interim government. I do understand, like I have said, that not all the things Baba Ahmed that is it could be actually placed and said yes, they will be right, because as it is now, come by 29, people will be sworn in, but the legal battle must begin, because that will be a serious test for our judiciary.
Yes, that's what. So
and mind you, they have about 180 days
now
to conclude.
One of the social commentators also said, "How can you be the child and ask that child not to cry?"
Exactly.
And then, as an analyst, how come? Why? At what point will the Lai Mohammed see what Obi is doing as treasonable offense? A man who went to court,
you see,
he was so certain that his mandate
was stolen.
Yes, and he went to court.
And
so how is that reasonable?
They were the ones who told him to challenge. Now you see, there is no record of any speech, any incendiary speech or any inciting speech on the part of Obi telling Nigerians to rise against the government. No. Treason simply means rise against the government or overtake the government or kill someone in power. That's what treason means. And the Peter Obi, even to an extent, I've never heard them say such a thing. You understand what I'm saying now? But I have heard some political image makers or even spokespersons of the APC campaign say things that are inflammatory, that could even incite genocide. Exactly. You understand? But no arrest has been made to that effect. But I'm not here to even begin to interrogate that. But I want to x-ray these issues. You see, it is in Nigeria that justice appears selective. And it's not doing us any good. So if you're talking about Peter Obi, Peter Obi only said, I want to quote him, in the aftermath of the election, there was rumor, or there were rumors that people were going to take to the street, that NSAS would be a child's play to what will happen. Peter Obi issued a statement where he told his supporters, he ran in his supporters saying, keep cool, keep your cool, relax, I'm on it, let me follow the legal procedure. And he has been saying that ever since. I'm not holding forth for him, you understand? But I do not understand when the government says Peter Obi is right. Peter Obi in particular is trying to incite people to violence. I wouldn't understand that unless there is another meaning of violence or another meaning of treason. Because in this country we have ways of defining things, and that is why we will end up calling terrorists bandits. We will end up calling terrorists kidnappers. We will end up calling people who are maiming, sacking, even raping and then eliminating settled communities. We will call them headers.
All right, before we leave this topic, where are you placing Omoyele Sowore, on this his statement against Lai Mohammed?
You see, Sowore himself tried to tell you in that speech that Peter Obi is a room and does not understand the issues of struggle, and that was why it was easy for Lai Mohammed to be attacking him. Sowore is somebody who believes in revolution. If you have read his political manifesto, he believes in the revolution of the poor to overthrow, you understand, the establishment, to overthrow the status quoist peasants, the pro-status quo element. But I do not know how you can be able to mobilize a diverse, plural, multicultural, multi-ethnic nation like ours into doing that. But then, what it shows is that Sowore believes he alone is the person who understands the revolution and can be able to effectuate that. And that also reminds you the concept, revolution now, which landed him in trouble, for which court said free him. They even came to court again to arrest him inside the court premises again. So I think Sowore, to me, is just trying to steal himself. Although he said the truth. He said Lai Mohammed was harassing Peter Obi, and that is what it is. Even the international community, you are going to tell them that Peter Obi is inciting violence. They sent their own to come and observe the election. They have the report of the people they sent. They cannot trust you more than they can rely on the report, or they can rely on the report of their own citizens. They sent to come and monitor the election as foreign observers. Some of us were domestic observers. From this station, our crew went, monitor the election, final report. So we also what happened. So nobody should try to, even if you had seen that statement, I was disappointed that somebody like Lai Mohammed said the election scored 97%. Again, he said again that represents the fairest, the most authentic and the most transparent election in Nigerian history. And I'm here to say that is a big lie and can defend it anywhere. Lai Mohammed should treat this nation as he deserves to be treated. He should act as a father. He should act as a federal minister of a legitimate government, not to begin to join issues, even respond to non-issues.
Comrade, looking at it right from the states, now before you now talk about the presidency, whosoever is appointed, because these are appointments,
yes,
they'll only live to defend their masters. Don't you think that's what Lai Mohammed is doing?
That is what we call in the academia, that is what we call Rufus Miles law. He says where you stand depends on where you sit. You see, I'm sitting here. If you tell me to stand up, I cannot stand on your own chair. Yes, and in Igbo lands it went this way. The truth about it is that some of these persons are just being paid. You understand? But sometimes you see that they don't even know how to learn that image. If you have to do these things, you must have involve public campaign. You have to be constructive. Don't try to paint white black, you understand, or even try to deceive people. It makes you unpopular. What you have to do is be constructive. Nobody is saying Tinubu's image should not be laundered. Even Peter Obi, all their images are laundered. Even if I tell you the millions of taxpayers' money spent to go abroad to get foreign media to talk about or write about all these characters, you will not believe me.
All right, Nigeria's President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC has barred his aides, visitors and handlers of his social media handles from using mobile phones not approved of in France to avoid revealing the severity of his ailment.
Yes, we've entered the era of surveillance. Surveillance, yes. And I will say it here, you see, and even America does that, and I don't know what that actually translates into espionage. in the name of fighting war against terrorism, America begins to spy on some governments, and that was what brought Julian Assange to the scene, and that was what brought Edward Snowden, and including Chelsea Manning, to the fore, because of the information they were able to release. I'm aware that Nigerian government at a time, it's not about this incumbent government, sometime during the Goodluck Jonathan administration, said they wanted to procure intelligence gadgets or surveillance gadgets or hacking tools to be able to intercept the conversation of Boko Haram, bandits, kidnappers, unknown gunmen, what have you. But they ended up using some of those things to track opposition. That is what they call the Celebrite. That is what they call circles. These are hardware that come from Russia, that come from China, that come from Israel. The moment sometimes you are even called, your name is. I'll give an example. In 2013 or so, or even about the telephone conversation of the current minister now. Then he was opposition against Seraki Dixon of Bayelsa State. I mean, Tim Plesiva. His telephone conversations were hacked, and that is the reason why you see Atiku is holding meeting in Turkey. Tinubu is holding meeting in London, because everybody is afraid of being hacked, and that is why you see him saying his people should use the official or the approved lines. But I will tell you something. You see, you have listened to the conversation about Obi and a certain religious leader. You will see that it does appear that was masterminded by people who have access to phone calls, because it began with the ringing of the phone. If you had been able to record calls, you see that it doesn't have the ringing tone. But then I think as we progress, I'll be able to talk about that.
All right. What the Sahara reporters talked about in these places is a little not all about espionage.
Espionage, yes.
But what they talked about is because of his ailment. Because of his ailment, you know, immediately after the primary presidential and governorship elections,
yes.
You know, as usual,
he left for overseas.
Whether it was a holiday, whatever it is, and then from there there have been these rumors either he is sick or is resting and so on, and so they want to believe that most of these reports are also coming from his aides.
Yeah.
You know, and that is why he said both his visitors, yes. And nobody should, so that Nigerians will not think that their president-elect is sick.
You see, the problem we have in this country is that the Constitution did not expressly say any person who is wishing to aspire to any political position must submit their medical record to the appropriate authorities. So to that extent, those who are running will always, if you remember very well, at the point Obi said, if I am required to, I will make known my public, I'll make public or make known my medical record. You see that? Yes, you see that some of these persons don't even like to even talk about it. President Muhammad Buhari served us the same thing. Now he's Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC. If at all we have a constitutional provision or a clause within the constitution or other extant laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that say let this person is exposed, it would have been a different ballgame. So now they are trying to do what? If that news is to be relied upon to do that, they are trying to say what? Don't hush your conversation with us, so that these days of tracking and hacking, of course. Remember, the article score has been hacked too. We are hearing the one of Obi. So everybody's like, be careful so that you don't disclose the element. And it should give us consent too, if this is true, that this is coming from the camp of somebody who is going to do a 4-year term, at least as a president, before we start talking about mandate renewal.
Okay, before we go on break, the Nigerian Communication Commission, NCC, has issued a statement in response to allegations of cell phone tracking and leakage made against it by some individuals and groups on social media. The allegation came after a leakage phone conversation that purportedly took place between Peter Obi and Bishop David Oyedepo, founder of the Living Faith Church Worldwide. And the NCC had come out to say we have no hand in this. And I'm sure you've also had...
Yes, I read that statement.
Okay. All right, where Peter Obi, it was alleged that Peter Obi asked Bishop Oyedepo
for religious
favor to ask people. And then the way I want us to go in this is, let us assume that that is even a fact. What is wrong in a man who is aspiring for the #1 seat of this country to ask a religious who is an overseer of a church?
Let me tell you.
For an assistance.
Let me tell you this. Bishop Oyedepo is a bishop in Nigeria.
Yeah.
He's based here. He's a Nigerian who will vote. He has a vote, as do his members. I want to remind people here, I'm not saying this to take sides or to disfavor any group, that in faraway Saudi Arabia, the Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly led a prayer procession for emergency of Lai Mohammed. I'm saying in faraway Saudi Arabia. So that isn't news enough. I'm not saying this to support them, but I'm saying this to mean that in Nigeria, our political maturity has not gotten to a point where we are able to separate religion, even ethnicity, from the object or from the goal of politics. We've not reached that point, and that explains why we begin national days like 1st October with a prayer from a imam and close with a prayer from a chaplain or a bishop or whoever so called. Now, if Peter Obi had said, I want your vote, it is the same thing as someone who goes to the north to say, I want the vote. Tinubu made it clear that he wanted the vote of the north, and for that reason fielded a Muslim ticket. A certain northern deputy governor was seen telling people in the mosque that if the Muslim ticket of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Shetima fails, that Islam would have failed in Nigeria. So there is no way you can remove ethnic religious biases from the election we had. And even to the best of my knowledge, Peter Obi still managed to even stay on issue until we hear the last of this very call. Mind you, there is also a release from his camp to the effect that this call was doctored and some part of it clipped out. You understand?
Yeah.
That one will be proven. But then I have to say something about the NCC NCC. Nigerians, remember some time ago, Nigerians questioned the person of Esa Pantami, Minister of Modern Communication, who this commission, this very commission was under him. Yeah. There were reports of his affiliation with terrorist group or his support for terrorist platforms in the world. People came out to say he should resign, and he was retained in the job up until now. So in one of the articles I read, although he doesn't mean to say I believe the article, the person alleged that Esa Pantami, being the minister, and then NCC being the commission, may also have a hand in this. But then there is something to understand about that call. If you were to record your call, if I am to record the call with you, it will not begin with ringing. That call began with ringing. I'm talking about beeping, bing, 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 bing. So it means that it may have been done by a superior authority or a hack expert. You understand? Because some of the, you see that I have said here, for the fact that the call system in Nigeria, we don't have it's not hack proof. It's not hack proof. These persons go a long way. You see, at a point in this country, National Assembly, they were represented with a bill to make them monitor WhatsApp calls and video calls in a country. I look at the call, it says end-to-end encryption. It means it is sealed. But unfortunately, they are monitoring in the name of what? Fighting terrorism. I am not against fighting terrorism, but then section 37 of the Nigerian Constitution as amended says the right of privacy, of family life of any Nigerian must be respected. You understand? Those who have done this thing, whether you're talking about Atiku Abubakar, they ought to be brought to book. You don't have any right to tell me how I am sleeping with my wife. That's my right to family life or my right to privacy. You don't have right to tell me the calls I made. To the extent that call did not undermine the sovereignty, the territorial integrity of the Nigerian state, it is a crime against our constitution.
Just in 1 second, do you now adduce that what Obi did is also contributes to religious, just like Keyamo said in one of his write-ups, that he has brought religious and sectional politics into Nigeria?
No, Obi did not. If that call proves to be true, you understand, Obi did not bring division in the Nigerian religious landscape. Do you know why? He did not appeal. He did not appeal directly to Christians saying don't vote for Muslims. That's when you talk about division. He was appealing to opinion leader. See, the religious leaders are to be understood as opinion leaders, and that is why in mosque, they even the one they call masalachi, political decisions and consensus are reached. So, and I said it before, we've not reached a point where we separated religion from politics. So if Obi did this, he was still hunting for votes. And let me also say this: although I don't like the word religious war as seen there or as heard in that type. But I want to say this: Clausewitz, an Austria, a strategic affairs and war analyst, says politics is continuation of war by means peaceful. Politics is continuation of war by other means. So, and we still use the word campaign. Do you know what campaign means? Campaign simply means war too. So we are campaigning. A military campaign is also a military war. But I'm not trying to say that it is a war. But it is likened, if you understand the semantics of game theory, zero-sum game, it likens to everything. But what I'm saying is that nobody in Nigeria, even Obi himself said he didn't run on the lines of religion. So I am expecting him to come clean, even issue an effective statement the same way he issued on the allegation of treason. You understand? Because as far as I'm concerned, to the best of my knowledge, he has not come out to say categorically his role in that call. Although there have been allegations that the call was actually doctored or badly doctored, but we are here to hear the last of it.
Yes, even Kenneth Okonkwo said something like that. Yeah. It was doctored, but Obi himself said there was nothing like that. Well, our wonderful viewers, keep watching Living Television. We're going to go on a very short break, and when we come back, Nigeria Today continues. Don't go away. Wonderful viewers, I'm glad you're still there watching your favorite station. Remember, it's still Nigeria Today. We have everything we need in Nigeria. What is lacking is equity, fairness, and justice. I am very proud that right from the beginning I stood firm and said after 8 years of presidency in the north, another 8 years should go to the south. I am happy that today this is where we are. Governor Samuel Otom stated this on Tuesday during the commissioning of the government secondary school in Gokana local government area in Rivers State. Now, Otom to say that we have everything, we have everything we need in this country.
Yes.
But the problem of the country is equity, fairness, and justice. What is your take on these three big items?
Yes, yes, justice, equity, and fairness, and they all, yes, they all mean the same thing if you ask me. Although there could be interpretations that may actually contextually situate each in within the meaningful environment or within the environmental meaning. But I have to say this: that's when you were reading that, I remember the words of Yakubu Gowon in the 70s. We have everything, we have the money, but the problem is in the spending. And then Yakubu Gowon tried to go better by nearly sponsoring the salaries and part of the budget of a country known as a tiny country in the Caribbean.
Do you remember his
Udoji Salary Award? Salary Award when we had
never had it
again. Yes, and when he was being questioned, he asked that person, "Didn't you benefit from the award?" Yes, and he was trying to fund or to help the country known as Grenada overcome this challenge. But unfortunately, today I'm not sure we are any better than Grenada. What Tom said to me, we can't even wish it away. This country is so blessed, diverse human wealth. In fact, in Nigeria, you have the most beautiful vegetational scenery. We have multi-vegetational scenes. If you are traveling from here to the north, you see how the vegetation changes. You begin to see shrubs. At a point, you begin to see arid land. At a point, you begin to see. In fact, it's a beautiful thing. In terms of resources, we have the human resource. We have the natural ones, abundantly, solid and mineral. But we've not been able to find our feet. And to that extent, we've not even been able to find our purpose, to actualize it on earth. And that is why Frantz Fanon will always say, every generation will discover its purpose, fulfill it or abandon it in relative opacity. In the case of Nigeria, this country, I will know what God will say of us after endowing us with everything. You see that the problem is now justice, equity, and fairness. No longer about the things we've been lavished with by Mother Nature. This country, as you speak now, you have uranium, you have cobalt, you have gold. Even if you don't have in commercial quantity, you have in admirable quantity that can make you at least subsistent, comfortable, subsistent. But now we are not even managing this diverse wealth from Mother Nature. We have even propagated and even institutionalized injustice to the extent we have reached the place where I don't know how we were able to reach that summit, where people from other parts of the country look at their brothers and say, "You look Igbo, you look Hausa, you cannot vote in this polling unit, you cannot vote in this in this area." What for? We also have a system where justice demands that there is an inclusion, where you sell nomination of interest and expression of interest and nomination form for 100 million naira. How many youths can purchase? Is that justice? So, and then this man stood his ground, saying the presidency should return to the south after 8 years of the north, and for which reason he joined Wike's G5. Even our own governor, they joined. There was legitimate protest about it all. Let's not forget that. Mm-hmm. Even though we may say it was miscarried or mismanaged to an extent, there was a legitimate protest. And if you see now, you see that in fact, as you will say, history will vindicate the just. History seems to be vindicating them with what we have heard about the last PDP chairman.
Yes,
So I think he who must come to equity must come with clean hands. So in Nigeria, it is true, we are blessed with diverse mineral human resources, but we have not been able to even tap into this or to even harmonize. Neither have we been able to institutionalize justice. And I also believe that going forward, justice, equity, and fairness will mean much to the incoming government. See, let me tell you something. If we are a country that is anchored on equity and fairness, we would have known that. Let's forget about the fact that Obi said, "Don't vote for me because I am Igbo." When people were shouting Emilokon, what was on his mind? Personal ambition. Because you have an arrangement at party level with maybe the incumbent camp. But if we are to talk about what they call zoning, which was first enshrined in the constitution of the draft of 1995 constitution, which region in this country should we say it is their turn?
Okay, still on that issue.
Yeah.
When you talked about fairness, equity, and justice, and then I want you to compare it with the evenly distribution of the national cake, and also considering what happened. I know so many years back in this country during Obasanjo's time, they had to fight apartheid.
Yes.
And then some years also back, Ghanaians were scattered all over here in Nigeria looking for greener pastures, fetching waters and being cobblers here and there. But today, Nigerians go to Ghana for greener pastures and so on. So what has happened to this economy? And then when you look at the amount of money that is reeled out in every year national budget, you discover that each Nigerian will be comfortable with a huge amount of money, and there will be still enough for infrastructural development and so on. What has happened to it?
Thank you so much. I think you asked the most important question you ever asked me. Evenly distribution, the distribution of wealth in Nigeria is uneven to start with. In this country, we don't pay emphasis on derivation. The 13% given to derivation is from the profits of sales of oil, not from everything that the nation has made or has actually benefited from in terms of what revenue. Now, I will tell you something. Population takes 30%, and you know who population favors in this country. Take 30%. Landmass. What is the place of landmass in our? I'm talking about revenue sharing formula. If you go to the website of RMFAC, that's Revenue Mobilization Fiscal and Allocation Committee. If you go to their website, you see that sharing revenue, population takes 30%. Landmass takes 10%. You also have population density. You also have other things. You begin to ask yourself, what is the role of landmass that we get 10%? And you know who this favors. Now, the other day we were talking about petroleum industry bill before it became PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act. We were treated to the issue, the dichotomy of host communities receiving, I think, 3% or so, and then the one they call there was what they call frontline communities, or the one they call that was what they call them. Now they now say these communities will now receive more, and it became a problem. In Nigeria, we don't believe in equity. It is as clear as day. Then the issue of the constitution you even talked about, of the national budget you even talked about, it is so unfounded, even illogical, that the government of this country, for whatever reason, sometimes they like borrowing. They like borrowing, yes, they like borrowing. And whatever that means, the NNPC is not able to remit into the federal coffers. At some point last year, there was zero remittance. In fact, there were zero remittances into the federal coffer. The government will tell you that they will need to do what? Borrow. Who are they going to borrow from? They have exhausted their borrowing option with some of these local banks. They go to CBN, what you call ways and means advances. That means CBN print more money. CBN will print more money, and then the federal government will borrow. Now, the ways and means advances stood in the region of less than 1 trillion naira when Buhari came on board. But under him, it is over 23 trillion naira as we speak today. Over 23 trillion naira as we speak today. And he has sought from the National Assembly an arrangement that allows the ways and means advances to be restructured, stretched to a 40-year period. Meaning I'm not sure he will be alive in the next 40 years. If he's alive in the next 40 years, thank God. Meaning that our children and our children's children will partake in paying this loan. And that is why every budget is deficit, because there is debt profile, you understand, going in. You cannot pay, in fact, when you begin to pay costs, and then the cost of governance itself is much. Where you have more than 7 jets in the presidential fleet, where you have, what are we doing, what are we using all these things for? In this country, the National Assembly is coming to an end, am I correct? Yeah. The National Assembly is coming to an end. Now, 16, they are going to collect hardship allowance. They are going to collect severance package. They are going to collect wardrobe allowance. They are going to collect all the other allowances, and then severance package. That's severance is thank you for coming. We are disengaging you. Thank you for coming. Whether you made any input there or not. And even hunger. That's what they call hardship allowance. Even the president and the vice president are also entitled to hardship allowance. So they collect this money, and the people who are facing the hardship have no such allowance, and that is the place of equity too. So that is why you see the budget is deficit every other year. All right. So we can't even exhaust it here.
Yeah, we can't exhaust it because if we take for instance what each National Assembly member takes home, and what Nigerians are still battling. When you talk about
and we're not paying our teachers. Our minimum wage, we are still arguing whether it should be 30,000 or 18,000. That's
a story for another day.
Exactly.
All right. Finally, before we go today, political spokesperson of the Labour Party President campaign, Kenneth Okonkwo, has reacted to a statement credited to Festus Keyamo, who had said in words that from now on it is going to be propaganda against propaganda and word for word, that they will meet them anywhere because Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu has a mandate he will defend, and we are prepared to defend it. In reaction, Kenneth Konkoro, sorry, Festus Keyamo, the obedient movement is a character and honesty symbolized by Peter Obi Gregory. You have just told the world who you are, that you are a cheap, deceit, propagandist. Your mouth always turned to where your stomach points. All your attack on Peter Gregory Obi are senseless propaganda. And that is Kenneth, the chief spokesperson of the Labour Party, replying to Festus Keyamo.
Yes, you suspected. You see these tirades, these exchanges happening in our polity. I think if any political party has enjoyed propaganda, the tool of propaganda, to the extent they were able to deploy propaganda to topple or to, let me not use the word topple, to dislodge an elected government, that should be the APC. Because the APC was able to use propaganda effectively. See, let us not wish it away. Propaganda is a tool of politics. Yeah. It is a tool of politics. If you understand politics very well, propaganda is it. And that was why people accorded respect to the late propagandist Okokonundem during the death of war. Now, if you talk about propaganda, yes, it is to be allowed. That's why you have media outlets and machineries to launder images. I have said these things are not bad. But when you do it out of context or blow it out of proportion to the extent that it represents half-truth or lies or false, it is no longer effective propaganda. It's now you misleading a section of the public. And why this is happening, I should expect that whatever propaganda they are talking about should be garnished or laced with issue, not erroneous propaganda. But then sometimes, yes, ad hominem, that's what they call ad hominem or vitriol. You see, sometimes I begin to ask myself a question, and the question is this: who is this man, Festus Keyamo? I'm not here to begin to demystify him, but you see that in 1999, he was seriously battling Bola Ahmed Tinubu over the issue of identity, the real age where you went to school. And he was among those people who first brought this to the public domain.
Even recently, he said the Buhari's administration is irresponsible.
Yeah, today he is not defending the man. He's not saying he has a mandate to defend. But I'm happy he will defend that first at the court. Now, see, let me tell you something. I heard someone told me this morning that some of the people who belong to the Ibadan camp are now going secretly, like Nicodemus, to go and see Alex Oti. Nicodemus is going to see Alex Oti. And you expect to see this in politics. This is what persons like Festus Keyamo believe in. Look at political jobbers. Yes, look at Femi Fani-Kayode, who had come out to say, as God lives, he vowed with his blood, with his father's grave, and whatever, he will never join APC. He will never campaign for Bola Ahmed. Look at him today. So look at Festus Keyamo. And this should also, even Kenneth Obi himself was also of the APC block before. Yeah. He was of the APC, where he said that the Igbo have not even realized the need to build bridges, because we have to be objective in our analysis. It speaks to something that over a half of the characters, of the persons, of the personalities, of the humans that populate the Nigerian political landscape have, in fact, they have problem of stomach infrastructure. And that is why I say, thank God I was able to remember that Rufus Maislo said, where you stand depends on where you see it. I cannot stand here and I'm told to stand up. I will appear there. I will stand here too. And that is why they want to be politically relevant beyond 2023.
Yeah, somebody said that about Keyamo, and
they want to stay in the job.
They want to remain where they are.
Yeah.
Even so many of them who are now praising Tinubu. Just like what happened. Yes. You know that also most of the chieftains, also some of them, who joined Peter Obi, do I say accidentally, are gradually also looking the other way.
Yeah.
Since Tinubu was announced.
You see?
All right, wonderful listeners. That is the much we are going to take for today. But before we go, I want you to have A recap of all the discussions we had,
Wow.
and then let's hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think for now, the Labour Party should be allowed to pursue its case and cause in the courts of the land, as it has been told to do by the establishment. Secondly, Lai Mohammed himself, he owes us a duty of information, not misinformation, of education, not miseducation. And that is why I have been asking questions. Why is it that the National Rotation Agency under his ministry has not been doing much in recent time in terms of propagating the values? See, election happened here, there were hardly sensitization, awareness, and then conscientizing as it may have to do with the issue of givers and the rest of them. Then again, I think he has said what he actually likes. He can actually defend. He calls himself the revolutionary. But all things being equal, there is a question mark hanging around or in a mandate where all the major, including those who have not even gone to court, mind you, but he's come out to say that the majority of the votes given our awarded to Tinubu were his own. So he has not gone to court. Shobore too has not gone to court. Others, many of them have not gone to court. It means that there is something, or we all have to wait and hear the last of it. And then again, to Lai Mohammed,
Believed that Obi's way would have been this far and this great, and that is why the APC looked down on him. Unfortunately, it happened the way it has happened. So let us watch. We still have the judiciary, that's why they are there. And whosoever that is asking the judiciary to look into a matter, that means he wants peace, and that is not treasonable offense. Having said that, I thank you so much for being in the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And this is Young Command signing off for now. Keep headed with us and keep watching other programs of Living Television. Bye for now.